Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to a new video. But before recording the video, I want to make a disclaimer that whatever ideas I share on this platform, they're entirely mine. They have not been copied or taken from anywhere. It's just based on my own personal experience over the years. So please be assured that it's all my material, or you can say it's all my thoughts, which I share with all of you as per my experience, which I've had in the past few years. I should rather say in the past few decades. So today I'll be talking about something very important, which is very relevant to teachers. It's not for students today, it's basically for teachers. And I'll be talking about lesson planning today. Now, it's a very common term that is heard when we come to teaching. In fact, even when we are doing our B.Ed, we come across making of lesson plans for whatever subjects that a person may have chosen to be a future teacher. So now lesson plans, it's such a common term, but do we really know what a lesson plan is? What is a lesson plan? In fact, what is a lesson for that matter? Now, lesson is that particular part of the syllabus that we take up as teachers, and we convey the goods to our students, whatever the subject may be. So a lesson is a series of activities, or maybe lectures, or it could be something done which practically, or it could be a group activity or a group discussion. So all these activities form a part of a lesson. Now, lesson I have conveyed. How to teach a particular lesson? Teachers have to plan, because if a teacher goes to class unplanned, she has nothing in her mind, it would be very difficult to teach whatever is the subject matter. So efficient lesson planning is very, very important for all teachers, even if you are an experienced teacher, because children are changing, and you have to make your plans as per the requirement of the present generation. So now, what entails a proper lesson plan? The first part is the objective. Whatever we do in science or any other subject, the first and foremost thing is the aim or the objective. So we must have a very clear-cut objective as to what are we trying to teach to our students. Because if we do not know the objective, it's no point teaching a certain thing. Like I've mentioned in my previous videos also, that teachers just go to the class and they say, today I'm going to teach you fractions. Fraction is a part of a whole, and the class is like, what is part and what is whole. So it has to be shown to the children. It has to be performed in front of the children, that what exactly is a whole, and how when you cut it or when you divide it into different pieces, then those pieces of parts, they are fractions. So that is it. Again, if we are going to teach trigonometry in middle school, then what is trigonometry all about? We just can't go to the class and say sine theta is this, cos theta is this. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. So why a certain topic is being discussed in that particular class, teachers have to convey that to their students. So the primary objective or the aim has to be conveyed to the students, and they have to be told how that particular part of their syllabus is going to help them in later years. Because it's just like, climbing stairs, one step at a time. So when first you have to climb step 1, then 2, and then you progress. So that's the most important part of lesson planning. Second is, you can't make a mental plan. You have to write your plan or a preview of what you're going to do. Again, that has to be stepwise. This would be step 1. Now this depends on the subject that you are taking up. I can't give so many examples, but suppose I, being an English teacher, I have to teach a poem a poem in my class, say The Solitary Reaper. So I will make a plan accordingly. Firstly, I'll introduce the poet. I'll tell some ground realities about him, and then I will read, or I would rather recite the poem to my class. Again, I made a mistake myself. It's so difficult to get over your old practice. It's a poem. So I'm going to recite that poem in class. First time with expression, second time a little slowly, and third time again a little slow, so that it seeps into the minds of my students. Then I will discuss different stanzas, and I will try to make the students only come out with the explanation or what is the poem about. So these little steps, they have to be discussed in your own mind, and they have to be written out very clearly in your lesson plan. So that's very important, to write a preview or the complete way that you would take up when you go and teach that particular portion or that particular lesson in your class. Now, thirdly, it's really, really important to know what kind of students you have in your class. Now, every class, it could be a junior class or a senior class, it is made up of children of different levels of intelligence. It's a very difficult proposition. There are some very quick learners, there are some medium-paced learners, and there are some slow learners. So we have to plan our activities in such a manner that we do not waste time. Of course, the intelligent children will very easily and very quickly pick up whatever you are trying to teach. But the slow learners, they need more explanation, they need more time, they need more experiments, or you can say more practicals to understand a particular concept. So you have to keep that in mind, that what is the composition of your class, and accordingly you have to plan it out. Maybe you have more of the intelligent people in your class, or maybe you have slow learners in your class in a bigger number. So again, your plan will depend as per the grasping ability of your students. The most important thing, which I've always mentioned in my previous videos also, is that you have to teach the same thing in many different ways. Monotony, if it sets in class, is very, very harmful to the students and also to a teacher's career. So you have to incorporate different ways or different learning styles or different teaching styles when you are doing something in class. And the more practicals you perform, especially in science, or if you take up things, related things, when you're teaching humanities in class, even if it's literature or history, if you get things enacted in class, then retention is more. We do learn to forget, but then the forgetfulness or the portion to be forgotten should not get bigger than what you've learned. It's a fact that we unlearn as much as we learn. But unlearning does not mean forgetting. For the time being, you put it aside. But then if we learn things to forget, it doesn't make sense. So children should be, and so for that, repetition or revision is very important. And we have to keep that in mind as teachers, that before we end up a lesson, we have to have a recapitulation at the end of the lesson, and next day when we come back to class, again we take up recapitulation. So different learning styles, different techniques, different methodologies, all these are required to make your teaching permanent and for students to easily remember. It should be interesting. It should not become boring. Also, while you are teaching, you have to keep eye contact with all your children. You just can't keep looking in one direction. You have to ensure that that kind of personal interaction or that personal touch is there throughout your lesson. And this also has to be kept in mind. We must write down some questions. For example, questions that you may ask while teaching. So just a few examples should be written in your lesson plan. That these would be the questions I'll ask, maybe as recapitulation, or even just to see or just to ensure that children are paying attention in the class. Whatever you've said just now, just ask a question on that. So if children are paying attention, they'll be able to answer, and if they are not paying attention, they're sleeping with their eyes open, then obviously they will not be able to answer your question. So that was another very important part. And last but not the least, we have to have a time set for our achievement of goals. We have so many things to teach, there's so many topics which of course have been classified into terms. So with that in mind, we have to ensure that whatever plan we've made has to be completed in a certain stipulated time limit, because if you exceed your time, it's not okay. And if you do it very early or you go through it very fast, then obviously it will not pay you any dividends, because if you go very fast, children do not understand. If you go very slow, then the class tends to become boring. So these things have to be kept in mind when we are making a plan for our class. It could be any subject for that matter. So these were a few points which I had to discuss about lesson planning. Now, how to plan individually for different subjects, that I would be dealing in my following videos to follow in the next few days or next few weeks. So thank you for watching, and I'll again request you, please share and subscribe to these videos, not for any other reason, but I want my little advice to reach maximum people so that all of them can benefit, whether they are teachers or they are students. So thank you once again. Good night and see you very soon. Bye-bye.